Hey bike farmers, thanks for clicking in. Something completely different today. I have been holding out saying anything on this channel about e-bikes just because I don't really even know what to say. I have so much to say, but so little to say at the same time. A few weeks ago, I started actually scripting another kind of rant video about e-bikes, and that I just couldn't even put my thoughts together for it. I just don't even know which direction to take, which angle to take, if there is a stance to take, what stance do I take? And it's just like absolutely nutty, and I don't know what to think about it. And I was talking to my wife about it, and she's like, well, why don't you just do like a bike video and then just kind of talk about e-bikes the whole time? So I'm trying something totally different. If it's not your thing, I totally get it, but you can watch me fix this here bike. This is gonna be a really straightforward tune-up. It's a used bike that I sold once before, so I've been through it already. Looks like it hung up, maybe went on a few rides, and then it ended up getting traded back in. So it's basically just clean it up and put it back on the floor type situation. So it's gonna be really easy, basic, just kind of how do you clean your bike up. But I'm not gonna talk about that. I'm gonna talk about e-bikes. And the whole thing that's triggering this is the last video that dropped, I think yesterday morning at this point. I don't even know. I have taken up golf again, which seems to have broken some brains out there too. But yes, I love the game of golf, and I started playing again. And it's at a private course, and a lot of people own their own carts out there. And I saw a couple of guys out there with these single user carts, which are like motorcycles or tricycles, and just, you know, one guy with his bags on a scooter kind of thing cruising around. And then one guy was out there with this e-bike, and on the side of his e-bike he had a rack that held his clubs. And I went down the rabbit hole of figuring out what that was and found out about these golf e-bikes. And I reached out to the manufacturer who has the bikes produced in China and really solved a lot of problems. And after talking with him, I thought I'd try it out. And I guess I didn't mean to not be totally transparent in that video, but he sent me the bike so I could make a video on it and try it out. I didn't pay for it. If that wasn't clear in that video, I didn't omit it for any kind of reason. It's just I didn't mention it because I don't think it's that big of a deal. But I really do happen to love the thing, and I don't even pedal it when I'm on the course, guys. I just use the throttle. So yeah, it's a scooter. But that's neither here nor there. It doesn't mean anything except that it's a useful tool. Anyway, I'm already starting the rant, but just the comments on that video alone, it just baffled me. I'm not taking it personally. I'm just honestly confused, and frankly, I find it really interesting, the reaction that I got from that video. And so I've just been thinking about it the last couple of days. So anyway, let's get into this, go through and clean this bike up and tell you a little bit more about what I think about e-bikes in general. So in general, I love e-bikes. I think they're absolutely wonderful. I think that the single greatest benefit is obvious, is that it makes riding a bicycle possible for all of the people who think that riding a bicycle is difficult. It can be as difficult or as easy as you like it to be. And to me, the main reason that anybody should ever ride a bicycle is because it's fun. It feels good. It's a really good time. Now, the reality is there's a lot of people out there who find that physical activity at any level isn't a good time. They just don't enjoy it. They don't like having to work, and it requires work. You have to exert effort to ride a bicycle. And the magic of an e-bike is it takes that away. And I think that's totally fine. I don't care if the e-bike is pedal assist or it has a throttle or whatever. In fact, if I lived in an urban area, if I lived in a city, I would have an e-bike, and it would be my primary way of getting around. And I would ride that e-bike. I would get the fastest one. I'd probably have a throttle on it. I'd have bags, lots of cargo. It would be a machine, and I would ride it in and out of traffic like a madman, taking all the liberties. I would run stop signs. I would do whatever it took to get through that city as efficiently as possible and as safely as possible as I possibly could, ignoring all of the rules that are out there. I'd probably stay off multi-use trails because I just don't think the multi-use trails are a good place for e-bikes, because there's people walking their dogs and kids in strollers and scooters and all kinds of other things on these. You know, a lot of people call them bike paths. They're just not even. I just think it's a kind of a dangerous place. But You know, riding in traffic on an e-bike that goes 25 miles an hour in a city, you can just kind of go with traffic, and traffic is predictable. Super sensible transportation in my book. And that's how I would do it. I think they're absolutely wonderful. Commute to work, although why would I ever have a job? That seems ridiculous too. I just want to go on the record as saying that I am pro e-bike. I love them. I think they're great for anyone that has them. That said, they also come with them a lot of problems. I think there are a lot of people that are buying e-bikes that really should not be buying e-bikes or riding them. It becomes very dangerous. I'm looking at you, boomers. Sorry, not sorry, but there's a lot of torque to a lot of these things. They're hard to handle. They're knocking you over. You're ending up in the hospital. It's not good. There's a lot of e-bikes in the market that are absolute garbage. They're dangerous. They're dangerously low quality, and servicing them is a major issue. So I do not service e-bikes for the most part at my shop. And I must have said this in the past that I don't service e-bikes at Gibbs because according to some of the comments in that golf e-bike video, people were under the impression that I was like anti-e-bike, and I must have said that I don't like servicing the cheap Chinese e-bike crap that's out there. And part of it is that it's just a pain in the ass to work on, and I don't like doing that. I'm really good at doing this kind of stuff. I'm not good at doing that kind of stuff, and I don't really, in general in my life, have any interest in doing something, A, that I don't want to do, but B, something that I'm bad at. Primarily it's the hub drive e-bikes, which all the cheap ones are hub drive. Taking those rear wheels on and off is a real pain in the butt. A lot of shops are like buying these big old contraptions instead of just a normal bike stand like, you know, I use on these regular bikes. They have these power lift stands, or somehow they're reinforced, they're bolting them to their ceilings. I mean, it's like a whole thing because these products, these e-bikes are really heavy. And it's really hard on these, you know, Park Tool stands. They just doing it day in and day out. It's hard on the equipment, and these things are expensive, and I don't want to invest in all that and enable shitty products to be in the market. It's just not something I'm interested in doing. I'm not being snotty. I'm not being exclusive. I'm just running my business and making choices along the way. I'm doing it for business reasons and some personal reasons. That said, you give me, you know, like a Trek or a Specialized, a Giant. All of the major brands are making e-bikes right now, of course, because there's this huge growing market, this huge sector that can't be ignored. And they're all mid-drive bikes. They're high quality Yamaha or Bosch machines usually. Totally serviceable products. Really easy. You have the support of the major brands. Usually you have a support of a dealer. 1000%. That's what you should be buying if you want an e-bike. Go get something decent quality. Go spend a few $1,000s and get it done right. And I know that there's lots of people that have bought direct to consumer, whatever kind of brand. Let's pick on like Aventon or Rad Power. I know that Aventon, I don't know if it's like they're owned by Specialized or what, but like I know Eric's Bikes is like a big, like kind of Specialized store around here, like a big regional chain, and they do Aventon now. You know, you can buy those bikes and they're just fine and they are serviceable. I don't like dealing with them. And I've heard that they're a pain in the ass to deal with. And you can buy those products and they'd be great, and you save $1,000 or whatever on, you know, buying a Specialized or a Trek or Giant or Cannondale or whatever. So you can get away with it, you know, if you want. But when that thing breaks, you know, you come to a guy like me and I'm gonna say no. I don't wanna deal with it. You can take it somewhere else. And I'm fine with that. I'm okay. No judgment. I just don't wanna deal with that stuff. And honestly, from my part, or from my point of view, a lot of people bring me these things and they're like, it's a bicycle. Why don't you fix it? Then I have to have this conversation, and it's like, well, you know, this is a direct to consumer thing. I don't really know where this bike comes from. I've never heard of that brand before. There's all these Chinese fly-by-night brands. I might be able to solve your problem, and I might be able to get away with it and never have an issue again. But if I fix your flat today and then you get down the road and your controller stops working in 3 days, you're gonna blame it on me. And I'm not gonna have any way of solving that problem. It's a customer service issue. The expectation is on me as a service guy, as a bicycle mechanic, that I'm supposed to be able to service these, or even fixing the disc brakes. Like, oh, it's just the bicycle parts. It has nothing to do with the electrical. The issue's bigger than that. A lot of these fly-by-night Chinese e-bike brands or companies, and even the American brands or companies that are just basically designing these products and having them built overseas, those manufacturers, a lot of them are not, they don't have liability coverage in the United States. So if something does happen, and I'm the last guy to touch it, you know, usually we can go to the manufacturer and that's where the battle happens in court from a liability standpoint. But at that point, they're like, we don't have any coverage or whatever. The attorneys are gonna look to us as the service provider next. And I can't afford a liability claim at all. And it's just way too risky because these products are way too low quality. And I know who's buying them, I know who's riding them, and they shouldn't be on, a lot of them shouldn't be riding bikes anyway, I think. They're just, these products are too heavy, there's too much torque. It's a lot of machine to handle. It can get really dangerous really fast. I'm not willing to assume that risk. I'm sorry, you know, like, it's just, I have to draw the line somewhere. So I'm, at this point, I'm just like, no e-bikes. Then again, you come to me with a Trek or a Specialized or a Giant or whatever, one of the bike brand e-bikes, I'd probably work on it. Except I just don't see that many of them. I see all these cheapo folding, blah, 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 which gets me to my video, right? I'm seeing a lot of comments like, oh my God, Bike Farmer's a hypocrite. You know how much I hate that. You know how much it drives me crazy. It's like, I'm not a hypocrite. I didn't purchase the bike, although I do endorse it. So therefore, if I wasn't in the position that I'm in, I probably would be purchasing one, okay? Like, honestly, it's, for me, it's a perfect thing. I needed a way to get around the golf course. I can walk, but everybody rides, and I was the only guy walking. I was looking for a way. This solves all the problems. I love it. It's an absolute blast, right? It's a 20-inch folding e-bike with a hub motor. It's super heavy. It's clumsy and awkward and all of the things that I think makes it bad for many riders for many reasons. But for me, it's perfect. I love it. It's great. The guy that designed it and built it and owns the Golf e-bike company, I talked to him extensively and really got to know him and trust his judgment and know that he did his homework. He reached out to many manufacturers, picked the easiest, best one to deal with. Really, all of my concerns with e-bikes, he addressed it. And it resembles and is a cheap Chinese e-bike. You can get this thing for, well, right now he's running a special. They're $2,000 and it's an excellent e-bike for $2,000. That said, you buy one and break it and bring it to me for service, I'm still saying no. I have one for myself, but professionally, I am absolutely not interested in servicing yours. I won't do it for many reasons. I'll fix mine, but the liability is on my shoulder. You know, I get hurt and then I'm dealing with it somehow, right? But I don't want to deal with somebody else's liability claim. What else about e-bikes? I mean, oh, also in the comments, a lot of people were like, well, not a lot. I mean, I got a few comments that not interested in e-bikes at all. I hate the things. And I was like, whoa, I didn't know that it was so polarizing. And there was another comment where somebody's like, I had no idea that this issue was so polarizing, or what an intense reaction to this video. I mean, it was just baffling. I mean, I did not expect it at all. I didn't know that this was a thing. And so I started asking, why? Why don't you like e-bikes? Like, what's the big deal here? What's the problem? Trying to get a straight answer and really figure it out. I really was hoping that it was something different than this, but all it is people that ride bikes. I mean, I don't like when I'm riding a bike up a hill and somebody on an e-bike flies past me. Like, why should I have to work so hard when they don't have to work so hard? And I'm like, wait a second, so someone else enjoying themselves in a different way upsets you? Like, that's it. It's people are racing with other people that don't know that they're in a race with them. And I'm like, what a toxic environment this is, or whatever. It doesn't have to be divisive. Like, riding a bike, using a bike, it doesn't have to be painful. It doesn't have to be competitive. It doesn't have to serve a purpose. You can just be out there having fun, and anybody can do it, right? The only problem I have with e-bikes is from a service standpoint, as a businessman, as a service provider who has a considerable liability risk, and the risk is so much higher. They're dangerous machines. That's all there is to it. It's like, they're dangerous. But if you are of the ilk where you don't like e-bikes because you don't like how it feels when somebody's faster than you on a rideable bicycle-like object, and you think that it's unfair or they're cheating or somehow, it's like, that's not the e-bike's problem, dude. And it's not the person riding it. It's not their problem. That is a you problem. 1000%. It is just straight up your ego. And you can put that in check. I mean, that's easy. You can do that work. But don't put it on someone else. It's got nothing to do with e-bikes or anything. Nobody's cutting corners. They're just out having a good time. One of the other things was people that ride bikes in cities don't like the e-bikes on the path. I hear that a lot. A lot of people that use the multi-use paths or even just bike paths for commuting or whatever, and then somebody goes flying by with a throttle 28-mile-an-hour e-bike, and they're like, what the hell? I think that is kind of dangerous. Like I said, if I had one, I'd ride like a bat out of hell too, and just do things as quickly, as fast and safe as I could. But I would avoid most of the multi-use paths because I do think that's dangerous. And to me, the real danger on the paths are pedestrians. It's the strollers and the dog walkers. Personally, I think that, you know, you should have bike-only paths, and they should have lines, and people should respect it. But it's not. It's kind of the wild, wild west. And I really don't like rules. I'm more of a guidelines guy, but I don't know, I think we're kind of getting that wrong in a lot of respects. What else is there to say about e-bikes? I guess for me, my biggest problem is they're difficult to service. It's kind of the Wild West. There aren't a whole lot of standards, although from what I understand, there's a lot of compatibility, and like the cheap e-bike parts are pretty open source, and there's ways to hack them and do all kinds of cool stuff. Which is cool if you're into that stuff. I'm not. So that's why, you know, it's like, you know, I'm hoping other service providers or enthusiasts will step up and start businesses that service these products or provide upgrades, and, you know, I wish them great success. But that's just me. That's a personal preference. But it becomes a real thing with the liability. Insurance companies are dropping bike shops that carry these things. The battery's lighting on fire. I guess we haven't talked about that. That's not something that happens very often. They're very safe in that respect. It has happened, but electric cars start on fire too. It's a thing, but it's not super common. I think when you have a whole wall of e-bike batteries, like you've seen the delivery companies in Manhattan have been burning down apartment buildings, that's just people being stupid. Again, people being stupid, don't blame it on the e-bikes. I hear people like say, oh, e-bikes are way better, you know, one less car. I'm not a big advocate kind of guy. In general, I think that the fact that we have such a car-centric society and all our roads are so wide and built for cars to go like a bat out of hell, that's all bad. I just don't think it's a good thing, but it is what it is. I'm not gonna spend the rest of my life fighting it. And I don't think e-bikes are a solution to that. I think they're a workaround, temporary workaround. It's a good way to use an e-bike just to avoid being traffic. You know, you're never stuck in traffic, you are traffic. So there's my rant. I love my e-bike, my Golf e-bike. I am having a blast on it. It is so much fun to buzz around a golf course on that thing. I'm getting no exercise at all. I mean, no exercise at all. I think I'm getting fatter out there. It's awesome. It's total leisure. I did go for a 30-mile road bike ride this morning. My Saturday morning coffee ride with the guys, and really enjoyed it. Took the orange Rivendell. I still go for bike rides. You haven't totally lost me yet. And this here, you know, these 90s Trek 720s are some of my all-time favorite bikes ever built ever. The cantilever brakes, you know how much I love how they feel. Oh. 700C by 35 might be the greatest tire size of all time. They're comfortable, fast, 3x7, super cheap, work every time. This one has been assembled properly. This was actually purchased originally here in Lake Mills from the bicycle clinic. You've all seen the sign down there. That's the shop that was in town when I got my start a million years ago. So this is a bicycle clinic bike and now a Gibbs Bike Shop bike and a Gibbs Bike Shop bike again. This is very Lake Mills. This is a really good one. And I love this bike. If you can't afford an e-bike and want to get around, get a bike like this, put some fenders on it. Also, would I ever ride a bike like this? The answer is no. My bikes are super fancy. I have bikes that'll do what this bike does and they're way fancier. It doesn't make me a hypocrite because this channel and my business and everything is about this bike. My whole thing is like, I'm just serving a market that isn't served by the industry. And that's people that want to spend $350 on a bike and have it work every time they get on it and not spend a lot of money and not become a cyclist, not have to be part of some community or change their identity in any sort of way to enjoy themselves on a bicycle. I had comments about the e-bike, like, welcome to the dark side. I'm like, dark side? Why is an e-bike the dark side? It's just, it's fun, it's good. We don't have to be picking sides. We don't have to be, I'm not becoming anybody because I'm doing this. I just have a tool that's appropriate for the job. And sometimes e-bikes are better than regular bikes. In a lot of cases, they're better than regular bikes. Not always. And they can become dangerous and they can become a liability issue. And they can be way too expensive and they're a pain in the ass to service. And all those things can be true and they can still be the greatest machines ever devised by man. E-bikes are awesome. Fixing them is not, in my opinion. That's my stance. Thank you so much for watching to the end. If you made it this far, God bless you. Give it a like, subscribe if you haven't. Send me a super thanks if you've got a couple extra bucks in your pocket, or you could consider a monthly sustaining membership for $5 or $10 a month. It'll come out of your account. You won't even miss it. Great way to support the channel. And please let everyone know in the comments what you think about e-bikes and be specific. Say what you do and don't like about them, where you at. Let's have this be a discussion in the comments. I probably won't participate a whole lot. I just don't know if I can handle it. It's just too baffling for me sometimes, but if you all start talking about it, maybe it can be helpful in some way and just help people stop taking sides and fighting about it and having it be polarizing like everything else in the world. And maybe we can all just get on bikes and have fun. That's probably the thing we should be doing with these bikes, is just having fun together. So use your bike to have fun with your enemies. Oh, for yourself. Don't forget to click that notification bell so you and your bikes can stay tuned.